Hello, and welcome. I, of course, am your host, Casimir Basilius, Imperial Lord, and, well, benevolent ruler. We are, of course, here for Solo Dice Day. Admittedly, I completely forgot to open map tools. Well, as you can see, it is open, but I forgot to actually set it up, which is real easy. I just need to load the campaign, which I forgot to do. I looked over and was like, oh, I completely forgot that. But we'll be back on track in less than a minute. That is the good thing about using map tools. You can just load up the right campaign file. Which should be open any second now. There we are. As you can see, loading. And there it goes. Ready for dice rolling. Of course, last time we worked on a bit of the areas around. We need to work on it more, of course, at some point, but that's more for World Building Wednesday, isn't it? Today is, of course, Solo Dice Day. So we will be rolling dice, ideally. We will be, of course, taking things slower, actually planning our mission out. Our mission, of course, if you don't recall, is our adventurer, the adventurer we follow around, Yuliana Aldis, intends to have her team steal a FTL-capable military or mercenary ship, gunship, ideally. Steal it, take our target, across the line. However, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm thinking now. A military or corporate doesn't really matter. What I'm trying to say is a non-FTL version works. Having an FTL version would make our life so much easier, but it's unlikely, debatably. It's less likely than finding a non-FTL version. But a non-FTL version, assuming we get to keep it, will make our lives easier. Because let's do a little bit of looking, why don't we? I say let's and look. More so, I'm going to look and explain. I can show you theoretically. I mean, it's not like it's impossible. In fact, it would be ideal if I did, wouldn't it? Unfortunately, I can't bring up the book, but I can copy the data from the book. I mean, like, it's not like I can't show the book. The book is just, it would take setup to be able to display the book. And we have like 30 Galactic Requiem books. So, you know, it would be annoying to do. Set up 30 different versions because I don't know what I wish to show at any given time, you know? And then I have to manage every single tab of each of those 30 books, which would involve a lot of clutter and make this so much more difficult to do. So instead, we'll do the easy thing of I'll just copy the stat block from this book and paste it so you can see it, which makes everything so much easier. So let's do that. Let's bring up our data sheet just because it's the only one that I actually have set up. Well, I have like one other setup, I think, but this makes it the easiest for me to show you data, doesn't it? Okay. So I've copied this directly from our items and vehicles book. And since it's of the same format, shouldn't break formatting. There we go. Let's zoom out a little bit, of course. As you see here, this is basically what I say when I said, let's look at it. Here's a generic dropship. As you can see, one without FTL is worth 1,000,000 or so, 1,180,000 credits, give or take. With FTL, it's worth 2,150,000 credits or so. So, that clearly, even without FTL, is quite a big value. Problem that came to me after, not just now, but after when I was contemplating it, which is, of course, if we wanted to sell a non-FTL one for money, or even just sell an FTL one, which we wouldn't. If we had the FTL one, we'd be happy. And if you're thinking, why don't you just retrofit the non-FTL one with FTL? Because FTL is built into starships. Yeah, technically there's FTL missiles, but those are expensive. You'd have to basically buy one every single time. Or I mean, like, theoretically, we could take FTL lanes. FTL lanes would let us use FTL without an FTL drive, technically speaking. But we'd be stuck. I mean, we'd be stuck using approved FTL routes. Now, even with an FTL drive, for those of you who know how FTL works in Galactic Requiem, so, sorry, tangent time. Let's start with finishing our first statement before we move on to how FTL works. With a non-FTL version, we can't just slap an FTL drive on it. We would have to use FTL lanes, gates specifically, to travel. Gates and lanes aren't necessarily universal. When I say that, I mean not every lane has a gate. Every gate has a lane. That's just how that works. Every gate has a lane, but not every lane has a gate. Also, you have to pay to use gates. It's far cheaper than an FTL missile, but like you'd have to pay to use a gate. Anyway, we would have to sell used. If we got one with FTL, we'd be happy. If we got one without FTL, we'd have to sell it to get money to buy something like a ship with FTL. But we'd have to get a price of a used ship, so we wouldn't be getting the full 1,180,000. We'd be getting a used price, which is less. Now, I can actually do the math on how much less, if you give me a second. I say if you give me a second, as if as if I'm not just going to look it up. Oop, wrong book. I'm looking at the past book. We don't need propeller fighters. We don't need propeller-based bombers. We're looking at FTL. And used starship prices, I mean, admittedly, used vehicle prices, so it does apply, but it's not in that book. You know? Used price ranges from -30 to -60. -30% to -60%. -60% is with flaws. You're likely to get something with flaws. Oz likely isn't going to have flaws. So we're looking at maybe -30%. But we do need to take into account that debatably, depending on where we sell it, it could be counted as stolen goods, which would reduce its base value to 30%, or in other terms, -70%. And then used, well, sometimes it's applied used for stolen goods, sometimes you don't. It really depends. But in short, we're looking at -70% up to -30% and then -70%, not -100%, of course. You do them separately. But basically, you're looking at a loss of value of a significant margin if it's counted as stolen, which it might not be, given the fact that the two nations are at war. So could probably get away with -30%, which is still cut into our value by a significant margin. So, in short, it's not. We want a gunship with FTL. That's the short of it. Getting one without, we could sell for a lot of money. In fact, let's do just a quick calculation because I'm curious. -30% is we'd earn 826,000, give or take. Depends on a lot of other factors. But we're looking at best case scenario, probably 182,000, 126, 800. Words are hard. 826,000 Galactic Standard credits. Not ideal. I mean, don't get me wrong. Over 500,000 Galactic Standard credits is not bad. It's, in fact, ideal, but it's not enough to cover what we would want. Would get us close to buying an FTL capable fighter jet. But I'll be honest, I don't want a fighter jet. I mean, what I really want, what I really want is a Corvette, not the car, a starship. So yeah, that's what I want. That's not what we're going to get. That's not what we're ever going to get. Well, probably. A Corvette, a military Corvette, we're looking at about 21 million Galactic Standard credits, which is well beyond our price range. I want one, but it's well beyond our price. Well, I don't want one. I want Yulana Aldous to have one. I, of course, Lord Basil, can of course have as many, well, not as many, but a copious amount of corvettes produced. I don't want corvettes. I want battleships. More battleships. In fact, what I really, really want is a dreadnought. All the cool Imperial lords have their own personal dreadnoughts. Well, I'm stuck here on a battleship, if you know. Well, I'm not on a battleship right now. I'm in my palace, if anything. But point being, when I do broadcast from a ship, it's always from my battleship. It's not even an assault battleship or a heavy assault battleship or even a dreadnought. It's just a standard Imperial battleship. It's not ideal. I mean, it's a cool ship. Don't get me wrong. It's a wrong one. It's a very nice ship. It's a bit dark, given the fact that fog is enabled, but it's a good ship. A very nice ship. But that's not important. This is where we want to go. Finally getting to a proper map. This technically isn't the right one, but it'll do. So, in short, you and Aldous, I want you and Aldous to have a corvette, but a gunship will do. But even then, it's going to be hard to get one with FTL. That's even if we sold two whole. Well, let's do a little bit of math. My apologies for all the math. 2,150,000 minus 30%, because we could also buy used, So we'd be looking at 1,505,000, unless we bought super used with flaws and all that. So we're a ways off from being able to get an FTL capable gunship. Could probably get a used FTL capable starfighter. Let's just do the math on that real fast. I mean, I don't want one. It's not my ideal choice. Minus 30%. 900. So no, even if we sold the thing, well, given that we have some spare money, maybe. How much spare money do we have? For that, we open our stat sheet once more. Let's go over to Elon Aldous' sheet. 91,000. So probably not enough, even with. We could buy a super used version, probably, with flaws. We could get an FTL capable fighter. But let's be honest, I mean, we might as well use FTL gates at that point. They're not uncommon. They just don't go everywhere. Oh yeah, my FTL ramble. So FTL lanes are required. Gates use lanes, but not all lanes have gates. Gates aren't everywhere. They're not on every lane. Gates generally travel you gate to gate on a lane. Usually. Now, with a normal FTL drive, you don't need to stay on a lane. You don't. You could go on a non-mapped route. It's just you have the possibility of dying horribly. It's rather significant possibility of dying horribly, which is why everybody uses FTL lanes as opposed to not using FTL lanes. So basically, in short, the only downside to not having an FTL capable dropship or gunship, whatever, is we would be limited to traveling via gates, and we'd have to pay at every gate. It's cheaper than missiles. FTL missiles basically shift you into FTL freely. You still probably want a lane, but they're expensive, very expensive. They're a very expensive alternative to having an FTL drive. They have their own risks, and like I said, they cost a lot, a lot. So it's really generally not worth it. But they're also dangerous, not like they're almost as dangerous as going on an unmapped route. They're more dangerous than using a lane, basically. So it's not really something you want to do. But anyway, traveling via gate means we'd need approval, basically. Because basically, how do I put it? Yes, you are very likely to be detected traveling in an FTL lane, but nobody can stop you. Well, they can't stop you, but technically, like in a vague sense, they can't stop you from getting to the edge of the system where a lane is and entering FTL. A gate is often run by a nation, and therefore they can be like, no, don't let that ship have access. So they could theoretically stop you. Now, there's also the fact that technically FTL gates and travel is considered loosely a right, vaguely. It's considered a right. I'm sure we've been over this before. Freedom of transit of FTL lanes is sort of a thing, but it's a right that is often it's a right in galactic standard systems. Like it's technically right, but nobody. It's one of those ones in which it's broken, and nobody does anything about it being broken on any major scale. Like nations will go to war over it if, one military fleet is traveling from point A to point B and another nation is like, no, you're not traveling through our territory, or if there's some important trade thing going on in which an entire nation's trade is being rerouted, sure, like wars will start over that. And, or legal cases will be made on that. But on a scale of, wow, technically freedom of transit is a thing, and, well, one nation is stopping an individual from going from point A to point, nobody's going to care. Nobody is going to care. Now, maybe a nation will care for their own political reasons, not because they care about that individual citizen. They'll do it because they care about political reasons. But by the time they act, it's going to be far too late. By the time they get around to caring or even just pretending to care for their own political reasons, it's going to be far too late to matter for that citizen. So, like, it's not really, it's, it's not an ideal situation. Like, even the Empire, who care about their citizens a lot and and often use their citizens traveling outside of the empire as a reason to cause problems with other nations. Even the empire does not have the speed or care to save their citizens from stuff like that. Like if an imperial citizen gets stopped by a nation, they're like, oh, an imperial, we hate the empire. We're going to make your life difficult. The empire, we're not going to, I mean, we might, there's the danger implied of, the imperial citizen can be like, well, do you know I'm an imperial? And, like from a perspective of the empire, we might use that as an excuse to show that we care. Because, the way the empire works, we believe that the galaxy already belongs to us. But, from a political perspective, we might use that, and the threat's there, and we must keep the fact that threat is important. So, eventually the Empire might show up with a fleet and be like, you know, yeah, you're messing with Imperial citizens, but it's probably not going to be after one, maybe. It's just don't rely on it, For my Imperial citizens, don't rely on it. Also, you'll make our lives difficult. And I mean Imperial lords, you make our lives difficult if you get in trouble out there and then rely on us to do something about it. Because we have to sort of show, that the Empire is big and scary, but it costs resources. It's not worth it. You make our lives difficult. But in short, that's even for the Empire, who were known to take petty grievances and turn them into major diplomatic incidences. So you can imagine for a lesser nation who really doesn't have the resources or care, it's far worse for their citizens to get in trouble and for such things to happen. I say worse as in they're very much likely not going to respond. And if they do, it's going to be far too late, as I said. So, having to rely on gates, I mean, like I said, it's not really a big problem because I'll be honest, the moment you arrive in their system, they're going to capture you. Like, they're probably going to capture you regardless. So, it's not really going to save you. Even if you have your own FTL drive, you'd have to, well, the way to escape would be to non-standard FTL, but then your likelihood of dying is significant. So, it's really not, it doesn't really make a difference whether you're forced to use gates or not. So I guess we'll be happy either way. Anyway. So that's the short of it, I suppose. Let's just quickly make sure everything is working, and it appears so. Very good. Okay. So, any dropship would be fine. So I suppose our next objective is the fact that our organization, I say our organization, I mean either the military we're working with, or our contacts, or the local gang is going to look into finding a corporate and or military gunship. The reason we need a gunship, by the way, well, or any transport, but it needs to be able to carry a reasonable amount of people. Specifically, well, mm, the reason we need something that belongs to someone official. We will be traveling across a war zone. It's a small war zone. Well, specifically a front line. We'll be crossing a front line. And so, well, it's risky, of course. Having an enemy ship, assuming we can actually spoof their details, gives us a little bit of safety in traveling. We can't really just drive across the front line. Or we could theoretically hover car. It's dangerous and risky, and we won't be able to keep our vehicle, specifically several of our vehicles. But it's, I guess, an option, but it's very risky. Using a corporate ship, assuming we can actually spoof the data, or a military ship, assuming we can get the data spoofed, to actually look like we either belong to the corporation or military, we could, if we just need to spoof them for like a very short amount of time, honestly. And if we just cross that barrier, we win. We win, basically. We complete our objective and we get our pay. So doing that is, well, the plan. Um, we also have enough equipment to steal it, theoretically. After all, we have a rocket launcher. A not too bad rocket launcher. Actually, it's not the best rocket launcher at all. It's actually pretty terrible. It's a very low quality rocket launcher. I mean, it gets the job done. It doesn't have the range, doesn't have the heavy anti-tank capability, but it works. It'll take out anything light, you know? It's not going to take out a futuristic main battle tank in a single shot. It's definitely not going to take out a spider tank or a mech. I mean, it might take out a light mech if we get a critical hit on a component. I have in fact seen one of these types of rockets in a different campaign get a critical hit. Well, not a critical hit, but a cold, not really cold, but a very lucky sort of component hit on an enemy light mech's power core, just obliterating the power core. The light mech was technically active, but basically hemorrhaging energy and about to basically, it had a few turns before it would be fully disabled. So I've seen this kind of rocket launcher with this kind of rockets take out a light mech with a lucky hit. It is possible. It wasn't a crit. If it was a crit, it might have even actually just destroyed the light mech. But a hit will theoretically, if you get a correct component hit, damage a light mech enough. Might not. It's not a guarantee, but it's an option, a possibility. Now I would take out a light IMV, infantry mobility vehicle, or infantry fighting vehicle even. Maybe a low tech level tank. It might, well, it won't take it out in a shot. You might disable a component on a low tech level tank. Track it. Maybe if you get an engine hit, disable its engine. Maybe disable its turret. If you get a very lucky hit, you might hit its ammo cache and it might cook off. Depending on what kind of, like if you use the heat, maybe. If you use the AT, perhaps. So it really depends. So, you know, like, not bad, but not the best. Suppose for you Elysians out there. It's more of a rocket-propelled grenade launcher than anything. An old one, in fact. It is tech level 9.2, so it's not the most modern. I believe tech level 9.2 is like, check. You can easily check. Oh, wrong book. There's the problem. Here we are. Like 1955. Basically, it's basically 1955 tech rocket launcher. So clearly, don't expect miracles. Let's see. So I suppose, well, let's try and actually roll on our contact. There's our contact. Contact networker. So we have a bonus of 1 plus -1. 0. Okay, let's see. So yep, this, oh, I suppose, sorry. It's been a while. I am supposed to roll all dice rolls here. Not all, but the majority of important. 5. 5. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I have to check the rules. This is not something I've checked in a short while. It's not something that I have at the top of my memory. Hmm. It's taking a while to load. My apologies. I suppose while it's loading, we can ramble a little bit. So, of course, I've been working on a variety of more stat blocks and systems. I need to work far more on them, but I've been slowly chipping away, adding more rules and stat blocks and items and all that, expanding the systems. Still have a lot of projects we're working on in regards to all the projects we've mentioned. I've mentioned them before. Working on news, working on story, working on our tokens, working on lots of stuff like that. And slowly we'll get those completed at some point. Finally, it's loaded. Here we are. Index. I know the other day I said I need to make indexes for all of these. This is one of the few ones that I actually did make an index for. Lovely. Not recently. This one I've had an index for a long time. It's everything else that I look at and go, I need an index. This one I made an index for because I was just so annoyed at having to look it up. Because this one has the entire skill list. There are over 40 skills, and each one has like multiple paragraphs worth of information. So you can imagine how, well, annoying it was to look through the entire document for any individual skill. Here we are. Mm-hmm. For every point, additional amount of time to reach equal to their listed time. Okay, so we don't take a penalty, technically speaking, for failing this hard, I don't think. At least if I'm reading that right. Nope, we do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, oh. Hmm. I forgot that that was something we had to apply. The question we have to ask ourselves is how sketch and important is what we're doing. And I would say it's neutral in this instance. It's not like they know what we want, and it's not like the situation that things are going on in is exceptionally difficult or complex. So we're not going to apply a high difficulty modifier, which means, oh, by the way, if we were in strained situation with our contact, we would have critically failed that. Luckily, we're one off from critically failing that, honestly, because we have acquaintance, which is 1 + 3, which brings our critical fail chance to 4 out of 5, which we rolled 5. So we don't critically fail, luckily. But what does happen is we do a little bit of math, which is 30 minus 5 is 25. So basically, our contact will get back to us and or get us what we need. Well, they'll get back to us in 26 hours. 26 hours. So, yeah, that that'll be a while. We basically, you know, all this she'll, I mean, use her neural data pad and basically try and contact the Merc handler and just get no response. Basically, things saying that the mercenary contact is currently busy. They are busy handling things for other people. They'll get back to us in 26 hours. That's the great thing about contacts in Galactic Requiem. Not that, specifically. The great thing is if you have a contact, they are it's possible, depending on the situation and their feelings of you and all that, it's possible that they don't respond at all and so forth. But even on a low roll, they are likely to eventually get back to you. Probably. Unless you critically fail, they are very likely to actually respond no matter what. Just, eventually. Unless there's, of course, law or in game reasons. Rules wise, they're likely to respond. Of course, we run a simulated world, so there are reasons they might not, like if they're dead or if you get on their bad side heavily or something like that. But usually your contact, assuming there's no outside reason, like they hate you or something like that, they're very likely to respond. And there are ways, rules wise, with the dice to make it less, even without outside factors like their actual hatred of you is a tracked thing, or their fondness, or other such modifiers that can apply. Like if you ask them for too many favors, all sorts of things. Luckily, we still have resources 5 with them, and all we're asking for is details, data even. So it's very unlikely that they'll reduce all resource for some details. Maybe. I mean, 10,000 credits worth of info also. So yeah, it's not terrible. Annoying that we have to wait so long, though. As you can see, like in this situation, it's not too much of a problem. But so obviously, like, it simulates the fact that if you have the time to wait, it's not a problem, is it? Your contact will get back to you eventually, unless you critically fail or something. They'll get back to you. Might take some time. And if you have the time, that's fine. If you need something now, like you're chasing someone down and they're going to escape off the station shortly, and you roll 26 hours for your contact to assist you, that's going to be very detrimental to the situation. In this case, we theoretically have the time, so it's not super detrimental yet. Something might pop up that changes that, but like for now, like we can wait. Okay. So let's see. That's the short of that. I suppose the next step is to figure out what we're going to do for that amount of time, or until our other sources can get us information on a ship to steal. Hmm. I want to quickly pop over to the world map. Wrong world map. This one. Hmm. Really, we could, assuming the rolls go well, which they have thus far, but there's no guarantee they will continue to go so well. I mean, I've rolled it all visibly, I'm pretty sure. But slowly but surely, like, every single roll for the faction we're working with militarily has been just vastly successful. So, like, shockingly, if things continue to go so well, then it's not long before they get to the city. I mean, it's, let's see, 10 kilometers at minimum before they're at the city edge. That's every square on the scale. 10 kilometers. So, about 10 kilometers from the, well, technically like 20 if you want to count this, but one 10-kilometer square away from the edge, basically. If they can make that, we can just literally walk out, assuming that the city itself doesn't become a battlefield. If it does, it's going to be very difficult. We should also remember that you then all this sort of loosely, very loosely wants to kill the person we're supposed to secure and capture. Ever so slightly. As the individual works for the government that Yelena Aldis, well, the nation that Yelena Aldis was a part of in their government, and she hates them. So it's, like, I say works for, I meant like used to it in a distant past. So basically, we'll figure all that out. Well, we're probably not going to kill them, probably going to capture them successfully and all that for the sake of money. Which, I'll be honest, we are probably going to get paid. Like, if we think about our orders, at minimum 100,000 credits. Minimum. Let's check our chart on that real fast. Assuming I open the right section. Here we are. Mercenary contract. Yeah, we're likely to get 100,000 minimum and a maximum of 500,000. But it's unlikely we'll be getting 500,000. We will likely get 100 or more. It's enough. It's enough. Okay. Why has everything got to cost so many galactic standard credits? Even things that are far cheaper than one would expect. One might think it would cost billions for a starship. No, no. Then again, space infrastructure and advanced production techniques. Huh, that was weird. Um, so yeah, we need more credits. So many more credits. Hmm. I'm just thinking about what we wish to do. So, in general, I've said it before, I want to do all sorts of things. I kind of want to show off all the different aspects. I suppose we can hit the streets, do a little searching ourselves. It's not like we need to absolutely rely on our target, our contact, I mean. Hmm. The only danger is we are not the most inconspicuous person wandering around with what we have. I mean, you know, walking around with heavy combat armor, a laser rifle with a grenade launcher attached, and a 12-gauge shotgun, a war pick, 18 grenades, and a rocket launcher. Probably not the most inconspicuous. Hmm. But also, taking all that off seems risky, you know? It's a balance. We're very likely. So basically, we would be stuck in the gang controlled part of the city if we are wearing this gear. We'd be stuck in the gang controlled part. Even then, we draw attention to ourselves. If we left, we'd get in the gang control part, we'd get in big trouble because, I mean, well, there's a war going on less than 30 kilometers from the city. So, if we take off our gear, we don't have our gear. You see the downside to that. Ideally, hopefully, you see the downside to that. Now, why don't we just put our gear in our hover bike? Well, right now, our hover bike has a gun mounted to it, but it's unmountable. You can remove the gun, but that doesn't solve the problem that our hover bike carries 50 pounds or so of additional cargo. Crazily enough, um, I'm not sure we can fit all of our gear in the hover bike. That's gonna be, we'll round down. We're not actually putting it in, so we're just gonna do some quick rounding. 30, 40, 60. Yeah, there's no way we could store all of our stuff. That's not even taking in, volume or so forth into account. But like, we're well over the 50 pounds. Technically, like, it should count if it's worn as things that it's carrying, but technically it doesn't count because I definitely cannot be bothered to do that math every time a character hops into a vehicle. But in short, basically, there's no way we could store it and not be wearing it, having it with us, basically, when we get out. I mean, not all of it. We could, if we took some things with us and left some things, we'd theoretically be fine, but we'd still be carrying things that would be quite obviously a problem. So it's not really a solution to wandering about. And even then, we'd have to completely leave behind the 14.5 millimeter heavy machine gun, which I really don't want to do. And there's no way to store that in the vehicle without having it mounted to the vehicle. So why don't you just take the light APC? Because it's a stolen light corporate APC. It's stolen. We killed the people for it. It would be, yeah, like technically the records have been scrubbed, but it is just as conspicuous to be rolling around the city streets in a military, well, corporate, but still military quality light APC doesn't solve our issue, you know? If only we had a hover pack. Or a jetpack. We don't have either. Hmm. Now, we could leave our stuff behind. We could leave our stuff behind. Store the majority of our gear. We could, well, we would draw attention walking around in heavy combat armor. Probably. We could get away with medium combat armor, especially if we take off the helmet. Now, it's not inconspicuous. People would see, and we would draw a bit of attention. But spacesuits are a thing. Aliens exist. And some aliens don't breathe the same atmosphere as Terrans. We even, like, the difference is, yeah, you could argue that heavy combat armor is the same because, like, it's just a big space. It's very, very clearly, very clearly um, visible, if you will. Like, let me put it this way. Oh, I can even give you an example right here. Yeah, well, our lieutenant here. Hello, lieutenant. Our lieutenant here is in what we call medium combat armor. The chest plate I'm wearing right now, same as him, medium combat armor. So, like, let's see whether we can get another lieutenant here. Let's get a picture of a lieutenant. Yeah, 1 second. Just so I can give you a bit more of a visual example here. This is medium combat armor. Medium. So, you can imagine what heavy combat armor is if this is medium. Light, you could probably get away with. Like, it's a bit less bulky, a bit lighter. It's not necessarily entirely enclosed. It probably is entirely enclosed, but it's not necessarily. You could get away with light combat armor. Now, of course, what you see here is Imperial combat armor, medium Imperial combat armor. First of all, it is a bit more visual. They do come in very different visuals, of course. Combat armor in general from around the galaxy. Now, you don't need the full armor. For instance, I'm wearing just a torso plate. Well, the conscript there is in full armor. It's space capable. You could throw him into space, and he'd be fine. He'd be fine. Most environments, he'd be fine. Now, you could have your medium combat armor look a bit more spacesuity. What I mean by that is more standard, more civilian. By putting things over the plates that make it a bit less visual, or having the plates a bit less, like if you covered him in padding, he would look a bit more like a normal spacesuit, you know? And there's engineering suits for people who work in space engineering or hazardous environments on planets and so forth. Or even just environment suits. So it's not necessarily obvious that you are a soldier if you're in medium combat armor. Now, you're going to draw attention. There's no way people aren't going to look at you. Combat armor is built a little different. Well, I say a little. There are differences between combat armor visuals and environment suit visuals. Generally, environment suits look a little less military because they're clearly designed not for combat per se. Now, they are designed to move around and all that, but usually they're a bit less, military grade. So, medium combat armor, you could argue, is an environment suit, assuming you have the sealed, suit variant. You could argue. As I said, also depending on variant. So, you're still going to draw vision. That's medium. Like I said, picture heavy, far bulkier. It's basically like you're wearing powered armor without the powered assist. So, like light powered armor, mind you, without the powered assist. So, heavy armor, very visible. You're going to draw so much attention. There's basically, you're not going to get away with it. Okay. So basically, that's my point for the most part. We can't really wear our heavy combat armor outside of the game-controlled territory without getting definitely noticed. We, of course, can't... I mean, we wouldn't be able to bring our gear, of course. Now, walking around with medium and an assault rifle, we are definitely going to draw attention. Walking around with medium and a pistol, this all does depend on a planet's laws. Don't get me wrong. Different planets, different laws and all that. But around here, walking around with medium and a pistol, we might be able to get away with it. Maybe. But we'd be stuck with only a pistol behind enemy lines. They wouldn't know who we are, but we'd be, in enemy territory with only a pistol. You see the problem there? It's, if anything goes wrong, we're a ways away from home with only a pistol and some medium combat armor. I mean, I say that. We also have a computer in our brain that lets us hack people and make their brains explode. I mean, if we were good at hacking, we're not. And all the ability to do magical stuff if we weren't terrible at it. So, you know. Anyway, I suppose, yeah, we'll actually do that, I guess. We'll put on medium combat armor, take only our pistol, and head out to go and do some searching. Might as well. Okay, so that's going to be our plan. Let's see. So, I suppose you and Aldous will, in fact, put on those things. I suppose we should take a quick note here, just so I don't ever get confused. Data sheet. There we go. Luckily, we have a key for this kind of thing. Where's my key? Should be around here. Here we are. Up ST. Inventory, here we are. Oh, do we have an equipped one? Elsewhere? No. Did I not put an... Here we go. EQ dash equipped. Okay. Equipped. Stored. Stored. Everything else is stored, so that's part of that. That one's equipped. That's stored. That's equipped. That's stored. Stored. Definitely storing the rocket launcher. We're not running around with that. Okay. So basically now we know that we only have our medium combat armor, our combat knife, and our basic kit. And some paperback novels. Okay. So, Yula and Aldous will basically then head out into the city proper. She'll head, in fact, above ground out of this underground section That way she can actually see, you know? Nope, nope, nope. Looking for the right map here? Nope. Come on. It's gotta be this one. Nope. There we go. Proper map. Okay. We actually need to work on the city. We haven't really had need to. Basically, we'll be stepping out around here. So that's the entrance. Basically, we'll be heading up here. I believe we'll bring our hover bike. We're going to unequip the gun from it, I suppose. Ooh. We'll store the assault rifle in the hover bike for safety purposes. So that fits. And the shotgun fits. Yes. But we will head to the surface. We are currently in the gang district. Still gang controlled. Let's see. Do we want to head to another district? More than likely. More than likely. This is a bit of a plaza. Let's do some research. We are going to look up local corporations. Get some details. I mean, we're not going to be able to get a lot because we're relying on a contact to do it who's going to be way better than us at it. But, you know. So, research is going to be using which skill? Investigation. What is our investigation? 0, probably. 0, with a modifier of 1. Okay, let's give it a shot. 15 plus 1 is 16. 16 on a research check. Let's check. Yeah, not bad. We can get some information about the local corporations. Bit of details about them. Nothing exceptional. We find that basically any building we look at, we're able to find their basic page. Their website pages, if you will. It's not super useful. I mean, we could dig around the website pages of any of the corporations. We can then cross-reference that data with any online information about them for the most part. Find the forms about them, that kind of thing. Let's double check. I just want to make sure I'm getting what I do get proper. Let's see. Here we are. So yeah, we can get, with 15, we can get specific details about something we're looking up. So we can even get specific details about the corporations, like we're able to find some major deals they're making, trade reports, that kind of thing. It's not super difficult to do. Well, let's do this right. Let's use the thing I always forget because I'm dumb. Yeah, well, I specifically have a little section in my book that says, don't forget to use the net. And then every single time I forget to use the net. We live in an era in which the net is available to us at all times. And some of us have AIs in our brains. Juliana Aldous is one of those people with an AI in her brain. It's not the best AI. It's about as intelligent as a person. Let's see. That does give us bonuses. So let's remember to use them. Let me make sure I'm getting my bonuses right. DataNet rules. Network connected. Not network nodes. You don't need to know how to delve into network nodes and do hacker stuff. No, 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 no. We're looking for the basics. The benefits of networks. Here we are. Nope, that's military networks. Come on. What are the... I gotta rename it better, I'm telling you. Here we are. Net connected bonuses. +2 on skill checks. +2, additional +2 for a +4 if connected to the net with an AI assistant. So our total would not be 16, it would be 20 because we're technically doing this on the net and with an AI assisting us. With the 20, theoretically, we would be able to get restricted data. However, you require access to a restricted information source in order to do that. However, we don't have that. So what we do get, basically, is obscure information. That is the alternative. Let me double check to make sure I'm getting that right. I like getting rules correct. Here we are. Yes, we're looking at basically acquiring obscure information if needed. So, in short, we theoretically can get little bits of detail. Now, there's no way on the net we're going to get, oh yes, they have a dropship right here, right now. Of course not. Like, we'd have to roll far higher to get something along the lines of, there's actually actively a dropship right here with FTL. No, no. With what we got, we're basically getting information like, the closest to what we're looking for is, yes, this corporation has a fleet of this many ships. Hey, this building has a landing pad. Like that's with an obscure, basically getting information like that. So basically, if we cross-reference those bits of details, we can basically go, this corporation does have a fleet of ships, and they do have a landing pad at this building. That's the kind of, that's like the closest we can get. We can't confirm or deny if any of those ships are at such a building. We can't do that. We do know that there is a landing pad and that they have ships. That's the best we can do. Now that does mean that there is likely, probably, something landed at the landing pad. Probably. How are we going to use that information? That's the real question, isn't it? And ideally, I mean, I suppose we could scout out one of those buildings. But we're in. See, now, walking around the street in medium combat armor with a pistol, doable. Walking into a corporate building with a pistol and medium combat armor, hmm, hmm, I don't think that's gonna work out. I don't think walking into a corporate building in medium combat armor with a pistol is really gonna work out in our favor. So we're going to need a bit of a different plan. Of course, we can store our armor in the ship. Well, in our hover bike. And hopefully be a bit less conspicuous if we want to actually walk into the building. Do we want to do that though? Do we want to? We know of, we can easily find a building with all those aspects. Like, I know I give it an example, but that is not an uncommon thing. We've already technically seen that. If you don't remember, it's been a while. One of the contracts we did, I think it was broadcast here. One of the contracts we did earlier, like I say earlier, I mean like several sessions ago, in this very city, we helped a corporation who had a dropship land on the roof of their building to evac some of their people. Like, it's not an uncommon thing for corporations to have dropships and or transports, and it's not uncommon for them to have landing pads. So, like, we're not going to check with the bot for that. We have enough information with our dice roll to know that we can find such a thing. And we have enough common knowledge of the way the world works to know that such things exist. So we're able to find such a building. Okay. The real question really is, do we want to enter such a building? Hmm. If we had an AI with us, like a real AI, not a shitty AI, a super AI, I would have it hack in, search the building, scan everything, figure out the flight plans, the paths, where things are stored, you know, that kind of thing. We don't have a super AI. Nor can we probably ever get one. So that's really not an option for us. So we're going to have to go about it in a different fashion. But I really don't think we can simply walk in and get the information we want. So, if you learn all this, we'll head to the district, find a anything really. Well, should look for a store, a restaurant specifically, with a window. Hmm. 1 second. Doing a little search for fun. Here we are. Since I have to look at a second document for this, and this isn't technically like important, we're going to roll this with physical dice, just because it's easier for me. Assuming I find the right table here. Yeah, well, you'll see why this isn't important in a second. Okay, one more roll. Okay, so it appears that this is a slightly upper class restaurant with a window. It is a it's a full-on restaurant, but there is a window, and it is in the corporate district. It's likely a few stories up. We'll basically go, actually take the thing up and get a window seat and get some food. What was I going to look up? I lost my train of thought. I was going to look something up about the place that we were in. Anyway, we will simply um, watch. Watch the air, see if anything's coming or going. Sorry, I'm looking for another book that I know I had open, but I'm not sure where I put it. Huh, did I not open that book? That's weird. One second while I actually open the book. I have to remember what it's called. There we go. Now I'm looking for the chart. Here we are, charts. Mm-hmm. I need to make some more custom charts, honestly. It's another thing I want to do. It's on the list. I want charts for everything, technically speaking. Hmm. Okay. Basically, we'll watch the sky from inside the building. We'll order a bit of food, which is going to cost us how much? It's a upper class restaurant. And as you know, I have a tendency to make sure that such things are accurately tracked. I don't just say, oh, we buy food and not do the math on it. So the real question, is this restaurant good or fancy? Given that it is in the corporate area, given the fact that it is on several stories up with a window view, probably fancy. Given that it is fancy, or even theoretically above, but we'll go with fancy because it's the easiest one to measure. A high quality meal, a full meal would cost us 100 credits. High quality meal is 40 credits, two sides of 20 credits each, a fancy dessert of 20 credits, then a fancy drink of 20 credits. So Basically, we could mix and match and probably get less, but basically we're looking at minimum 40 credits for the actual meal and probably 20 for the drink. We could get a normal beverage at this place, of course. We probably just order water. I mean, it's possible. But we're looking at a minimum of 50 credits, assuming we're just going to pick at a plate of standard food and hope. But let's be honest, we've been hanging around, just sort of getting in battles and all that. Let's go for the full meal. Why not? I mean, we do need to have food every day, apparently. You then Aldous does at least. So, well, not every day, but we don't want to have to bring out the starvation rules. So I suppose we will go with the full fancy meal. So we'll get, indeed, a high quality meal, two sides, a fancy dessert, and a fancy drink. And that'll be 100 credits. There we are. And yeah, no, she'll just watch the skies. Do we have any special augments? That's an important question. I don't believe we have any special augments for our data pad, like, or augments for like ourselves. Yeah, it doesn't look like we do. Yeah, nope. So basically, we'll just stare out the window while having the food. Basically, watching the darkening sky and recording using our neural data pad anything that arrives and leaves, hoping to catch basically patterns of ships, small craft landing at these corporate towers. Hopefully, we catch something valuable that will help our plan. So that's what we're going to do. Probably while enjoying a fancy meal. So not bad, not bad. We will, of course, likely do all this not wearing our gear. Let's roll some random event dice, too, just in case. The likelihood is low, but we do have to, as it's GM, not GM run, if it's bot run, we have to give everything a chance to occur. Okay. We've been relatively stealthy, for the most part. So, first things first, let's roll if any special events have occurred, which is very unlikely, so it's going to apply a -6 to these d10s. Well, first we have to roll chaos. Yes, chaos. He rolled a natural 1. I should roll it visibly on the thing, but it's a bit late now. Natural 1 means yes, chaos. Now, 2d10s. That was a natural 1 on a d10. Okay, let's see. 1 and 5. Very much no. That's 6. So that is a flat no special event of a likelihood happens. But both numbers, 1 and 5, unless I'm wrong, are odd numbers. As odd numbers, our question is answered with a exceptional. In other words, exceptionally no. Now we need to interpret this. Exceptionally, no random event happens. What can this possibly mean? Well, to us, that is. I think, given the circumstances, sitting in a restaurant, watching the night sky, well, the now probably night sky, watching it for several hours, probably. Well, as long as we can get away with it. Seeing things arrive and leave. We probably definitely, as it is an exceptional, we get exactly what we're looking for. A model of ship. I say ship, I mean, well, let's ask the bot. Oh, bot, is it a gunship? Is it, well, we know it's corporate, but is it military or is it civilian? We're going to weigh the likelihood of civilian to be higher than the likelihood of it being military by about 4. If it says yes, it is military. If it says no, it is civilian. Let's check. 109876. No, it is a civilian FTL capable ship of dropship class, also known as, I believe, S class vessel, I think. I'd have to double check the vessel classification system. But in short, we do see what appears to be landing for a short while. I say a short while, I mean it's going to be there for like a day or two. A FTL capable civilian ship of the proper size that we want. Problem being it's civilian. I want a military one personally, but some fancy corporate space yacht would do, I guess. Okay. It's probably not even what our contact is going to give us. Contact's probably going to give us different information about a different one, because, you know. But it is an option of something for us to steal. I suppose we'll go back to base, rest for a while. We'll give the information to our allies, rest for a while, and then finally get contacted by our contact, who will give us information on a military one in a corporate place. The one he gives us, does it have FTL? This is a flat yes, no. I'd say the odds are slightly against us, so only -2. Yes, it's military. No, it's not. Let's see. I am annoyed. We are 1 off. Nope, let me do the math again. We are 1 off. Here's what we're going to do. We have the power to influence this. Where is it? I am so sad. If we had any favor, we'd have the power to influence it. Apparently we have zero favor, so we don't have the power to influence it. Okay. It is not, I was I asking? I might have phrased that wrong. It is military. The question is whether it's FTL capable or not. I might have genuinely phrased that wrong. Because the other one, we were wondering whether it was military or civilian. We knew that it was FTL capable. This one, we know it's military. We want to know whether it's FTL capable or not. This one is not FTL capable because we can't increase it by even 1 point because we have no favor. So, this one is military, but not FTL capable, which gives us a choice, doesn't it? Do we want a civilian ship that is FTL capable, debatably harder to get, or a military one that isn't FTL capable and debatably easier to get? Now, if you're wondering how the military one is easier to get, first off, I say military, it's corporate combat, not technically military. Now, it's easier to get because, well, it's not special. It is a standard ship. It's not the fact that it has FTL or not that makes it harder to get. In this case, it's specifically the fact that we have a place in which likely has lots of corporate gunships, probably a few. Second, we have data on it because our contact has given us data on it. The civilian one with FTL, we don't really have data on it. We basically saw it ourselves. It's probably not going to be there for a lot longer, so we probably have to act faster on that one. But it's probably more expensive. It's probably worth more money. It's probably luxury. As this one's a FTL capable civilian ship landing at a corporate tower, it is very much likely meant for corporate higher ups. Downside, it's meant for corporate higher ups. If we do steal it, the corporation's going to know. They're going to care a bit more. Now, that means I'm leaning military with no FTL. Just because of the sake of it's genuinely probably easier to get. You're gonna have more data on it because of our contact. And we can guarantee that it'll be there for a while because our contact's basically gonna say to us that, yeah, there's a corporate gunship thing here. None of them have FTL, but you can expect to find corporate gunships there. Which would also get us easier through, technically speaking, the military line. I mean, maybe a civilian one might, but it's sketch. And if the corporation is far more concerned about a luxury ship going through, military one's probably easier, honestly, even though it doesn't have FTL. So we're going to go for that one, probably. So we did the research for nothing, but we did have a nice meal. So that's the bright side. It did cost us money, though, so. Oh, our research is not for nothing. We do have a bit of information on the corporation already. Like, once our contact gives us the information, we do have information on them. So, we know a little bit about them. Probably lesser corpsec, probably the same faction that we went up against before. The one that we stole the other thing from. Given that they're working security in the city for the most part loosely, it's likely them. In fact, I'll say it will. It'll be a nice coincidence. Anyway. So we're gonna have to basically plan. Assault their building, get into the proper place, and get out with the ship. And then immediately we will basically have to enact the plan. The hard bit, the dropship bay is going to be several stories up. And by several, I mean a lot. It's going to be high up in the tower, near the top of the tower. We could either go from the bottom up, or the top down, or directly in. Directly in's probably not going to work. However, How do we get the real question? How do we get four mercenaries and a government official who doesn't want to be there into a corporate tower, into a military, well, military contractor corporate tower, into the dropship bay, and out with the dropship? That's 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 the little that's the little problem we face here. How do we actually get out, in, and out with the ship? And why, if you're wondering, do we have to bring the guy along? Like, why can't we pick him up afterwards? Because the faster we get past the military line, the more long we have to believe for them to believe that they're on our side. We will, of course, have to quickly broadcast to the Allied forces what we're doing. But basically, it's it's not an operation we can delay on once we begin it, basically. We don't need to do it soon, though. Like, it's not like the dropship's going to go anywhere now that we have a mark. It's a military, well, a security contractor tower. So basically, we could attack it at any time, technically speaking. Only problem is the longer we wait, if the situation on the ground with the war going on gets worse, they might secure it more or give their assets to the military. Or there's a lot of things that could go wrong if we wait, but it's less urgent than, say, it's not like something we need to enact right away. It's just once we enact it, it's going to be urgent. Hmm. And let's go back in time a little bit, just because I want to do a little bit of description for fun. So basically, sitting there, staring out the window at a little table, another chair empty at the table, of course, but staring out the window, watching the lights of starships, well, hover cars, starships, and the like, travel in the sky from destination to destination, a few pulling out of their pre-designated air routes to land at corporate towers, the little lights, landing lights and so forth, flickering on them as they head through the darkening sky towards the towers that they're to land at. The constant stream in the sky of the other ships in their lane is constant. Down below, the lights of the front and rear lights of the cars on as they pass by their traffic, going about their business relatively usual, ignoring the war that's going on less than 20 kilometers from the city proper. Life continues to go on in this city, as if not much has changed. Of course, there is, in other districts, an air of things being a bit more concerning, military such. There is such going on around here. But it's far less than one would expect as the night darkens. Juliana Aldous will look down at the fancy plate in front of her as she has probably some form of steak, probably from some form of alien creature, and a nice alcoholic beverage, more than likely. I mean, hell, we're paying, what was it, 20 credits for a drink? Yeah, probably something alcoholic. She will, of course, swirl the glass slightly before taking a sip of that. And, mostly staring out the window, recording the arrival and departure of ships for the most part, somewhat neglecting the meal, having it rather slowly. Probably one side is a salad, and the other side is a light soup. Yes. And for dessert, which is provided with the meal, of course, given that we're going for the full meal, is probably, I think you then all this is going to go for something Terran standard. She's not going to stray and try something new for a dessert. No, no. No, no, she will. She's having a standard meal. She'll have something different for dessert. I mean, it's an opportunity, isn't it? I think for dessert, Yelena Aldous will probably have some sort of cold, cherry and chocolate, crunchy sort of like, not like a, sort of like crispy, crunchy, weird, hard to describe. It is, of course, an alien meal. Well, I say alien, it's not entirely alien, but it is, not of your Elysia or Earth, as you call it. So, a light, cold, and crunchy sort of like, I believe the best terminology I can think of is like pains, like sort of like crunchy, flat-ish shards, pains, you know? Anyway, before finishing her meal, staring out the sky, paying the 100 galactic standard credits for all of this, and then passing by all the other tables where people are going about their business, having their what is now likely dinners, before heading down to the lower level, heading to one of the underground parking lots, and taking her hover bike more so, back to the gang base. Yes. Anyway, that's the description of the scenario we found ourselves in earlier when watching the sky. My goal is to do more of those. I forgot, so we had to go back and do that. But my goal is to input more descriptions because I do enjoy them. I just always forget because I always feel like I'm in a rush to provide action. But I keep saying I should take it slow, but keep forgetting to. Anyway, so yes, I believe next time we'll call it here as I'm probably going to go and get some coffee. Next time we will actually engage in planning our assault, I suppose, and or deciding to go about other business. And then after that, we will hmm, basically, in short, we'll do something actiony next time. Either assault the thing, plan for the assault, or take another side contract to prepare for it. That will be the plan. Anyway, thank you all for stopping by. Oh, I suppose I should roll XP. We didn't really do much, so that's going to be a total of 10 XP. Anyway, thank you all for stopping by. As always, I've been your host, Casimir Basilius, Imperial Lord. Theoretically, as tomorrow is Saturday, we will probably have armor. We'll try and get news prepared for Tuesday, Newsday, and then world building Wednesday. Then we'll continue this next Solo Sunday. That's the plan. Hopefully we can get the news out. Everything else is pretty much assured, except for maybe armor. Not sure if armor is, but it probably will be on Saturday. Anyway, thank you all for stopping by. And as always, I hope that you, yes, you, have a wonderful day.